Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the other semifinal of the Alt-StarCraft Novice Arena. We are going to be on MLG's Metalopolis, and we are going to have a PvT in the yellow. In the 6 o'clock position, we have the Terran, known as Riley. And in the, well, I guess that would be more of the 8 o'clock position, we have the red Protoss, Helios, and on the line with me, of course, as always, our awesome and incredible Knack. How you doing, Knack?
Doing real well, Njax. I'm pretty pumped for this TVP here.
Yeah, TVP, and I'm surprised Aegis is not going woo in chat right now, as he loves watching these kind of matches, because it's a bit of a rivalry between him and I. But it should be an interesting match, see how Helios and Riley do. What are you expecting out of these players, Knack?
Well, first off, Riley is going to start with a wall off here. Now, generally speaking, that's indicative of a tech play, where either you're rushing into a 1-1-1, maybe even cloaked banshees is a possibility. But generally speaking, that is what that means. Now, not all low-level players understand that, and so a lot of these guys, by force of habit, wall off as a rule, which I find to be kind of a mistake in a lot of ways. Because if you're going for an economic build, you don't want these buildings in this particular location. You really want to be, working on your low ground more than on your high ground, and back a little ways from the ramp there. But I mean, it is what it is, and especially going up against Protoss here, those walling off is usually not quite as necessary. But no gas still, so my guess is that Riley is going to go for a little bit more of an economic build, which we'll see. We'll see how that's going to play out for Riley. But Helios with standard opener, no walling off for this guy, and he's got his second gas going down here.
So what do you predict for a second gas? Because normally a first gas is not unusual, but a second gas is early could mean what, per se?
Well, there's a couple different things that it can mean. One of my favorites, which I don't suspect is the case in this particular situation, is for Stargate play. Stargate is very, very effective versus Terran, but it does require a lot of micro, and so my guess is that Helios, being a relatively low-level player, probably not going to be opting for that particular build. So another thing that I think that it does mean is probably an early robotics here. I mean, as soon as this cybernetics core completes, I'd actually like to see him float a couple extra minerals and get that cyber core down. But he's going to go ahead and start chrono boosting out his warp gate technology here, which is not necessary if you are going for robotics.
This is true, but I would like to say he was very quick on actually starting the warp gate. A lot of lower league players, the warp gate will finish, or the cyber core will finish, and it'll sit for a couple seconds before anything starts coming out of it. Right. Helios was immediately. I like to see that.
Right.
It's amazing to see that.
Yeah, it is. It's so smart.
Meanwhile, back in Riley's base, we have 3 barracks, all of which are pumping out Marines. So could we see a possible Marine rush here? I think it might just be a little bit late for that now. Maybe could potentially be something now.
Yeah, I think that if he is going to go for a Marine rush, that he's late on tossing down his barracks, and he's late. And he doesn't have enough. You need at least 4 if you're going to go for a mass Marine type of play off one base, and you've really got to get him down fairly early. And moving out with these Marines, I just don't feel like these guys are going to be able to do the right amount of damage. However, on Helios base, he's not been chrono boosting out units from his gateway. He's got a gateway here that should be producing non-stop, and he's taking an expansion, and so quite honestly, Riley might get lucky here. He's not doing this on purpose. This is kind of an accident, but this might be just enough Marines to do the damage necessary to make it worth it.
Mm-hmm. Well, we might see a bit of luck here, and the expansion is not exactly necessary at this point, but is a good way of getting ahead in economy in the long run.
Oof,
but,
that Stalker.
These Marines are doing a lot more damage than they should, and that Stalker did just melt away.
Yeah, and look at this. We're going to unpower the buildings here. It's also going to supply block here, so we got 2 warp-ins. They happened to be zealots, which I disagree with. He had enough minerals to warp in 2 stalkers and pulling all of his SCVs or probes rather. But I expect Riley to take the win down here.
Well, considering Riley has all his units actually rallied onto what was his small army. Yeah, it's looking pretty grim here. Although his Marines are getting stuck at the bottom there, he might just defend this. He was just might. Oh, but he cancels his nexus at the very last second. What do you think of that?
Well, I mean, I guess too little too late. He really needed to cancel it earlier if he was going to cancel it at all. But at that point, it had enough HP where he should have just left it, and he didn't need the minerals. So, I mean, now he's going to, yes, he's going to have a couple warp ins here. He is rebuilding a pylon, but his economy is in absolute shambles, and I feel like Riley is just going to back out here, beef up his army, and come back and stomp Helios into the ground in game 1.
It's unfortunate. War probe.
Well, Riley does need to back out, though. I mean, that is something that he's got to consider, is that he doesn't have the forces to take down Helios' army right now. He needs to back out and needs to get out some marauders.
He was kiting ever so slightly, and it was causing Helios to lose some zealots.
Right,
which is a good thing.
I mean, but Riley is now, he's got all of his units headed out across the field, which is stupid to say the least. He needs to back out here, because right now this army for Helios is outclassing Riley's, but Riley does have the better production capability, and so he needs to try and take advantage of that in a defensive posture for just a moment, get himself geared up, and then move back out across the map. But taking this extra damage here is just dumb.
Mm-hmm. Well, let's just see. What are we doing here? We have a factory going down for Riley. We have another gateway going down for Helios, and only one harvester on one of the gases. And
see, this is what I don't get. He's got 2 gas. Riley's got 2 gas, and no add-ons. He's just barely putting down a tech lab now on a barracks. And he's getting a factory, and for what? He doesn't need a factory. What Riley really needs is marauders, and that's what the tech lab will help him with. But right now, I mean, he's got a whole bunch of nearly dead Marines in a bad position, and these guys they've got to back out. They really do. Riley's overextended right now.
I would say so, yes. The supply is in favor of Riley, but right now it's pretty much all in Marines, and that's, in the long run, that's just not good enough. Yes, Marines are overpowered.
No, but not against this particular unit composition. This many zealots to tank the damage, and enough stalkers from the back to do the damage, as well as now sentries, which can split the army with good force fields. Also tossing down a guardian shield here is so smart. And I love how Helios is trying to bait these guys up his ramp, and then he blocks himself in his own base, but that's okay. I mean, that
was a bit of a misclick on that force field. It's not even close to the center of the ramp, but good attempt, I will say. Good. It's the thought that counts. He actually thought of doing it.
And he is going to get out his starport, and the starport is going to enable some healing here. Getting those medevacs out on the field is going to really extend the livelihood of these infantry units, and I feel like that's a good play here. I think it came too early. It wasn't necessary to take down the win. He's delaying his ability to take down the win to get that out. All he needed was to get earlier marauders, but I mean it's okay. He's not making bad decisions here. It's just they're just not the decisions that a pro player would make or a higher level player would make. And so I mean he's got a couple things that he could fix there. And I'll tell you, other than that though, he's got great macro ability. That second base came down in great time. He's getting it up and running and saturated very, very well. And I mean just a little bit behind maybe economically, but not by much. And he's done a lot of damage to his opponent.
Indeed. He does have 2 barracks without one barrack without any add-ons. Throwing down another reactor. Would you like to see a tech lab or a reactor or nothing on this barracks that's just sitting there at the top of the ramp?
I would like to see a tech lab. He needs really 2 tech labs on barracks if he's going to continue production appropriately of marauders, and he also needs to not get supply block. And now he's got to find something to do against this Colossus. Lucky, let me check and see if he did actually scan that. No, he didn't. He has not seen the robotics bay, and he hasn't seen the Colossus quite yet either. But he should be well aware of it here in just a few moments, while Helios is going to take this opportunity to move down, I think, to the low ground.
I would like to see Helios put out more pylons than just one, however, because the Colossus is so expensive in supply. It's 6 food, and one pylon is just not going to cut it, because a pylon is 10 supply,
Yeah,
eight, sorry, and six food is like 75% of a pylon. You need to put down more than one pylon if you're dealing with Colossus.
Right. And, I mean, while Riley does have the bigger army at this point, Helios does have a pretty nice tech pattern. And this is the problem with allowing your opponent to live instead of, moving in appropriately and taking down the win, is now Riley has to deal with a new tech pattern of Helios that, quite frankly, he's going to have a little bit of trouble dealing with. And he's now got 2 Colossus out on the field. I just feel like Riley is letting this game get away from him. And now Helios is feeling confident enough to go ahead and take an expansion, which I think is the right move here.
I'd like to point out no extended thermal lance, and one thing Helios has not been noticing is his assimilators. One of them has 4 probes, and one of them only has 1.
Well,
that's an issue if you need gas.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. And now we've got a couple Vikings out on the field. Smart play here from Riley. Riley needs to put some fire down on those Colossus right away. Don't wait for them to start attacking before you're trying to take them out. You want to force the engagement here, and that's exactly what he's doing there. That's perfect. So you killed the shield off on that Colossus there very quickly. He needs to keep those Vikings attacking, though. Force